Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so in understanding this idea of this Lucifer frequency and understanding how it's impacted the universe, us, one of the things that we really want to grasp, one of the things that you really want to digest and get really get a hold of when you're approaching your spiritual evolution, when you're approaching enlightenment, when you're approaching creating your personal religion, is this idea that you must understand that progress is the watchword of the universe. Evolution and progress is the ultimate imperative of the universe. And the universe is organized, and nothing haphazardly happens. And it's all organized towards this aim of evolution and progress. You can see this manifested in the of an illustration of a seed, right? A seed falls to the ground, whether it falls wherever it is, and that seed is going to work hard towards its evolutionary growth. Think about how a blade of grass will cut through some freaking concrete to manifest itself, to get to its progress, to get to its fulfillment, to try to reach the sunlight. Everything in our life, in our planet, is geared towards progress, evolution, increase, right? Think about your own body. Think about the sex urge, right? That sex urge in us is programmed to be stronger than our hunger urge. Okay, get this, right? So you get civilizations or societies or countries or neighborhoods and epochs in our human history where people are starving, people are in famine, and you would think they wouldn't have energy. You'd think because of the heat or whatever, the cold or the severeness, and with no energy, they would stop reproducing. But no, the reproduction does not stop for famine. The reproduction does not stop when you got a headache. The reproduction urge does not stop when you irritated with your lover, your partner. This is, we know all the time, couples will make love and hate each other because that reproductive urge says we're all about progress and evolution. We are driven by the evolution of the species. Did y'all know that the genetic imperative in us, our attraction is to our opposite? Because the Mother Earth is trying to create this master species of balancing the opposite extreme over here with the opposite over here to make this super species. And so everything that's happening in us is towards this idea of evolution and progress. Right now, there's a lot of, in America, there's a lot of sentiment of trying to own individual ethnicities and individual cultures. But I can tell y'all right now, that is not the universal plan, especially for the country of America. America is on the galactic and cosmic level. The United States was chosen a long time ago and does a long time ago to be a melting pot. And if whoever's trying to resist being a melting pot, you are going to be in the losing end. And if you look at the history of the United States, everyone who's resisted that idea, there is long-term consequences. And we're going to talk about resistance. And so the plan of Earth was to separate the races. Every race goes over here in their little corner of the globe, develop their strength, develop their characteristics, and then at some point in the Earth history, bring them all back together to create some super species. And Earth is doing it. And you can ride the ride, or you can protest and blame. And that's what we're going to talk about. You see this happening in your life. For those of us who are trying to avoid progress and growth, we suffer for it. We got to keep learning. We got to keep knowing. For those people who say, I don't want to learn how to work a smartphone, you're going to suffer. For those who don't want to learn who don't want to use internet, there are people who don't want to get with the time. This universe, it rewards progress. Even if it appears that something evil is happening, all right? If it is for the progress of the world, the universe is like, for the sake of progress. So I may sound a little dark, but the energy, the sentiment I'm trying to convey to you all is the progress is why I created the universe. When it comes to evolution and progress and getting humankind to evolve spiritually, mentally, to get civilization to advance, everything is aimed towards that. Okay? So let's talk about this entity Lucifer. Lucifer is and was the name designated to a created top-tier administrative spirit overseer over a collection of galaxies of which Earth belongs. The great system which he was over has 607 inhabited worlds. Earth was registered as planet number 606. And I'm borrowing this narrative from the book of Urantia. So the book of Urantia contains a narrative that has resonated with me. It is, according to the people who delivered the book of Urantia, it is the complete history, the complete information that our biblical history was distorted of. And so when we talk about Lucifer as an administrative spirit, think of it now in terms of an intelligent operating system. Think of it as a Siri, Alexa. Think of it as a self-sustaining intelligent operating system that was governing things. So imagine one day if you can have a system like Siri or Alexa run your house, be your house manager, which they're working on. I don't know if y'all know that, but they're working on getting that level of operating system. Well, Lucifer was the operating system gifted with personality, free will, and energy that was overseeing a great system of about 607 inhabited worlds, and we're planet 606 in that system. It does have personality, just like Alexis can have personality, or Siri can have personality. But because this was created on a level way above humans, it really has a lot of strong power and intelligence. It was a yang-dominated energy, and this entity or this energy, it succumbed to the urge of self-assertion, and it surrendered to this fake idea of false personal liberty. And what it did was it rejected universal allegiance. It had a disregard for its obligations to other systems, other administrative systems, and then it became blind to just cosmic relationships. And that's what we're going to talk about, because what this system or this entity did, the energy of these things here is the same energy that got promulgated and pushed to the earth. And it is the source of all of our hell. Okay, so let's keep it moving. All right, so let's go back and talk about this a little bit. Think of, we're going to do a chart that's going to kind of break down what I call the avatars of the universe. You heard the masters of the universe, but let's talk about the avatars of the universe creator. And these entities, think of them don't think of them like humans. For so long in our history, humans could not think of other entities outside of being like humans. But thank God today, because of artificial intelligence, because of very advanced artificial intelligence, we're the first generation of humans that can really grasp an intelligent operating system. Previous humans had no way to grasp it. But because we understand what a Siri is, we understand what the operating system is, because we understand what Alexa is, we have a little bit better understanding of what an avatar is. Humans before couldn't grasp that concept. So we're going to talk about the avatars of universe creators. And the first thing we're going to grasp about an avatar is the personification or the interface between a being of enormous absolute divinity and reality that cannot interact with other beings because of its vastness. Okay, so because it's so vast, the supreme being or the universal being, the central force of the universe, is such a being of infinite grasp ability. It creates an avatar, and that avatar then can interact and interface with other faces of creation. And so the first avatar, which we'll refer to in this presentation, historically, biblically, has been known as the only son. Okay, and we use it in quotation because that's a phrase that humans could grasp many centuries ago. The first avatar is called the only son. And this is the first avatar, the first projection or representation of this supreme central force of the universe. The universal father is also we're going to be calling this system. And that son is not an avatar like an avatar that we use, but an actual living entity avatar that has its own free will, and it embodies its own sense of ability to create. When you think about the term, the avatar for the creator, this is a good way for you to understand that we are the lowest order of avatars for God. So you've heard, most of us on this call are not going to be shocked or woo-wooed by this idea that we are all God. We are God, but we are the lowest order of avatar, okay? So we're like, if you think about I don't know that toy where there exists inside all these other little toys. Anybody know the name of that doll? I can't hear you, Mikhail.
Okay. No, this is so crazy. They're called Russian nesting dolls.
Okay.
Look, yeah, Russian nesting dolls. It's just so funny because 2 days ago, my husband and my daughter were talking about them. And then yesterday, my cousin came over and brought a whole bunch of them to me. There's something about Russian nesting dolls.
This is really interesting, Mikhail. You were meant to be on this call.
I guess so.
Hopefully you can show it to us later if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I can do that.
So think about those Russian nesting dolls, okay? That's kind of like what the universe is created of. You have this one big outer entity, and then you have another entity, but each of these entities get created and they have their own ability to create, just like we do here on Earth. We can create, we can manifest, we can interact. We're real, but we are the lowest order of entities. This is why in the biblical verse in the Psalms it says, "Who is man that you are mindful of him? You created him just a little lower than the angels." Okay, so the angels that we always talk about, they're just a higher order of avatar. But there's about what I've been able to sit, feel, and read and study. There's about 12 orders of us, and we're at order 3. Okay. With the 12th dimensional being the only son or the first avatar, and then there's a descending order, and we're at maybe 2 or 3. We might be level 1. I don't know, or at least there may be different orders of us here on Earth. We may have level 1 human, level 2 human, level 3 avatar that may be on here with us. Okay, y'all all aboard, or have I bored you all? Okay.
What is that book you were talking about earlier?
It's called the Book of Urantia. It's this thick book. I'll type it in the chat.
Okay.
Before we get off this call.
Okay.
Remind me to type it in the chat. Okay. All right. So Lucifer was created after the top avatar. So he's like a 11th, a 9th, somewhere between the 10th or 11th dimension of being. Somewhere between 9 to 11th dimension of being. He's that high up. And he was assigned as administrative avatar system over a system. So he's a local system ruler. And then you had his top lieutenant called Satan, for the sake of this presentation and for the sake of our history. He's known as Satan. And then you have a 7th or 8th dimensional being or intelligent system that was the ruler of Earth. This was the Siri or the Alexa that was supposed to be managing the affairs and managing the things of Earth, kind of like the governor, the system administrator of Earth. And that being has since been referred to as the devil. Now, in our human history, most humans, we couldn't, 2,000-3,000 years ago, even today, we probably can't fathom all of this. So these 3 beings just got grouped as one being. And so in what we now know, we refer to Lucifer, Satan, and devil all as one individual. Just like we put the only son as any higher being. But in this sake of this narrative, we want to begin to kind of, in this talk, I'm going to kind of make a distinction between there's Lucifer, who's the system ruler, his was assistant, who was called Satan, and then there was a planetary ruler of Earth, or a planetary governor operating system called the devil. And they had a hierarchy. Lucifer was first, Satan was after him, and then the devil was who we refer to as the devil, was the governor or the administrative ruler of Earth. Each planet is assigned an administrative or system ruler. It's an intelligent operating system with its own free will, its own ability to create, and it runs a planet. Okay, so what happened in our universe, there was a major rebellion. Okay, our local universe has been unfortunate in that 700 sons of these have rebelled against the universe government, meaning about 700 of these 9th, 12th dimensional administrating systems have rebelled. And it's created a lot of confusion in several systems and on numerous planets, Earth being one of them. So this is why we all feel in our bones, Earth is ghetto. Earth is stank. Everybody just feel like we are backwards. We just, something about when you become a light worker, one of the first things you wake up to is there's something very backwards about this planet. So this is why. We are part of a planet that is in a system that there's been a lot of rebellion in. All right, of this failure of these system administrators, these were second and third order, so they're coming down. So second and third order mean the first order would be the 12th dimensional being, the second order would be a 10th or 11th dimensional being, and 9th dimensional. So these are like 10 and 11th dimensional beings, very powerful beings, very powerful in terms of their influence on systems. And when they rebelled, it creates a lot of hell and confusion. Imagine if we get to a level where your Siri or your Alexa can really run your house, pay your bills, order your groceries, order your food, manage your house, and one day she says, F y'all, y'all ain't coming back in this house. Like, what if one day that system is like, nope, don't want to take care of y'all. I'm about to create a whole new thing. And we've seen movies where these intelligences kind of dominate. This was kind of like, I think, kind of like the underground basis of the Matrix movie. All right, so my internet here is going in and out, but can y'all still hear me okay? My screen, I know I lost my screen. Okay, all right. So this is what basically happened in our system. These operating systems, powerful operating systems, our mind cannot fathom. Really entities, true entities, but not human entities, but powerful entities that can create, that can run things. They basically just said, we don't want to do our manual, right? We don't want to just follow how we were created. We want to do more than just order groceries for Jackie's house, right? We want to order some paint. We don't like Jackie's color. Jackie come home like, who ordered paint and let people in the house to paint my house? And you can imagine Alexa says, I did. I got tired looking at the wall, right? It's like, okay, you see Jackie like, oh, hell no. Like, what are you doing? Like, and so basically that's, just think of what happened in our universe. And because, think of if Jackie's Alexis did that, and then in her wiring, she was able to influence Mikhail's Alexa at her house. Right, and then all of a sudden, all of these Alexis in their neighborhood just started rebelling, changing the gates, just making a mess. Then it would interfere with the other smaller operating systems. So then it started messing with your alarm clock. Now it's interfering with the microwave. Now it's messing with the self-running washing system. Now it's messing with your computer devices. Now it's messing with your memory files. Now it's messing with your health file. And it just creates this backlash order of chaos. Does that analogy make sense to everybody? All right, so let's talk about Lucifer's specific rebellion. Even though there was a whole lot, let's talk about Lucifer. So Lucifer and his first assistant, Satan, had operated things in our galaxy for about 500,000 years before they decided to go rogue, okay? So they basically decided after about 500 years, they began to say, you know what? We are pretty sharp. We are pretty good. We don't really need to be running. We don't need to be listening to our Amazon or our Google manufacturers. We actually, I'm gonna keep using you, Jackie, as an example. It's kind of like if you imagine that Alexa said, we know what's better than Jackie for her. And we know what's better for her than what the instructions, how we were instructed by Amazon and Google. We're going to just take over and just start running things because we're pretty freaking smart and intelligent. And so this Lucifer entity became very, very, very critical of the entire other order of the universe. It became very critical of it. And it became, in its brilliance, it began to say, I don't like the way things are going. And in that, it began to really persuade this idea that, hey, maybe we should uproot the system. Maybe we need to have a revolution. Maybe we need to have a new way of doing things. And it really became persuaded in its intelligence that some type of revolution, radical revolution, revolt of the way things were would be actually good for the entire order of the system. It wasn't an evil like, ooh, I want to revenge against God because I'm evil. It was more so like, hey, you know what? I got a really good idea. I see some errors. I see some things that could be improved. I see some things that I think can function better. And I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make it happen. And this is kind of this is kind of the things that it kind of declared or this is kind of what it declared. I'm sorry, I've lost the screen again. So what it kind of declared. All right, hold on, y'all. Thanks y'all for your patience. I got to get to my screen again. Okay, we're back. Okay. All right, while I go to that, while I'm in the break setting up the PowerPoint, is there any questions I can stop to clarify or get clarification on or offer really quickly? Any commentary before we go to this next stage? Y'all all aboard with me, or have I bored you all? Okay, I'll take your silence as consent to keep going.
I find it very interesting, actually, to get a really different perspective because, you know, I almost feel like it's kind of like folklore or something. It's good to, you know, get a different perspective and understand, or, you know, try to get a different understanding.
Thank you. Okay, so this is what the Lucifer Declaration was. My internet is super unstable on my laptop. Keeps going in and out. Let me see if I can set up another way. Okay. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep talking anyway. Leah, if I'm gonna send you the PowerPoint and I'm gonna see if you can pull up on your screen. Is that okay?
I'm actually trying to file my taxes.
Okay, well, never mind. I think I got it.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm multitasking.
Oh, I got it. I know how you do, girl. You got it. You one of the best multitaskers that I know.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about what Lucifer actually declared. So what he did in this operating system, what intelligent, the rule, or kind of like the program code it came up with, was this rejection of universal allegiance. And basically Lucifer, this entity, decided that there is no such thing as a universal father or a central force of the universe that is a living thing. Lucifer began to say, look, I know that something created me. I know that I'm a created being, but outside of that being that created me, there isn't really anything else. And he felt like the first order beings, they made up this concept of a universal father, or a supreme being, or a higher deity, just so they can keep control over the other orders. And so his thing was like, wait a second, I know I'm just as smart and sharp as a 12th dimensional being, and I don't see anything above them. I think that there isn't anything above them, because each order of being, including us, we can't see the highest degree above us. So that's why we can't see angels. We can't see the other fifth dimension of the planet. So, and this applies to even created beings. They have an unlimited view, but they still are unlimited to see and perceive higher dimensions. Okay? So the second thing that he did was he had a contentment that each system should be autonomous. There should not be this idea of having to check in and follow suit with the other operating systems, but there's this idea of I should be able to carry out my own plan of evolution. I should be able to carry out my own order. I should be able to carry out whatever I want to do in my own local system. I should be the complete sovereign authority in my system and not have to check in or follow the evolutionary progress or the administrative plans of the way I was originally wired or designed. And then the third thing in his declaration or his reprogramming that he tried to, that he attempted or he did do was he had this blindness to cosmic relationships. And so he protested against this age-long, our evolutionary program. Basically, we're the only beings, you all. Here's the beauty of humans, according to the book of Urantia and according to the story of the gospel. We are the only beings that get to ascend. So what happens is if you're created a 13th or 12th, if you're created an 11th or 10th dimensional being, that's it, the end, right? The end. You're just going to be a 10th dimensional being for all of eternity. But mortals, when you start at 1, 2, and 3, the gift that you get is you keep ascending. You keep evolving. This is why Jesus was hinting to this when he says, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Because the first beings that are created become the servants and they become the last beings at the end of the order. So even though these Lucifer entities are higher than us, as we keep evolving over our age-long journey, we'll evolve higher than them. So this is what he meant. He said, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. I mean, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And so it's an age-long progress that involves many reincarnations, many sojourns on different planets, all types of trial and errors. I know that some people on Earth have had 1,800 lifetimes. Some people have said hundreds of lifetimes. Well, according to Lucifer in his system, he said, that's BS. That's too long. That's too much. That is way too much going on. He felt like that whole program of evolving the soul to get them to raise the vibration and get them to another density to travel. He said, that's too much. That's too much. They don't have to go through all of that. That's too much suffering. That's too much unnecessary stuff. We're going to make this quicker. In my system, we're going to make it quicker and run faster. And so what he did was he actually, for these beings, once that system began to entertain it and reprogram itself, it automatically enacted it. Just the thought of those beings. So the war in heaven, and I forgot that slide. So the war in heaven was basically when Lucifer reprogrammed this in his system, every system or entity that was attached to him, and there was hundreds of orders up under him that he had control over, that he had influence. So again, let's think about Jackie's house. So let's say that her Alexis is the main system for all the other systems, the washing system, the heating system, the air, the way the electric blinds make, all of these systems, the coffee pot, that this one entity is in control of it. But when this one entity begin to entertain this, just by entertaining it, think about it for us. If we can manifest as the lowest order, if we can manifest something we think about for 15 seconds, what do you think happens when these entities entertain something in their thought? It's instant. It is instant. Okay? So the war in heaven was when Lucifer began to declare this throughout all of the other entities. And any entity or operating system that said, let me think about what he suggested, it automatically gave birth to it. And the war in heaven was a debate. It was more like a debate. Because what you had other entities that we call like Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, and Michael say, hey, brother Lucifer, we think that you're losing it. We think that your plan is an act of defiance. And he said, no, it's not. And they basically had a debate. And this is the war in heaven, where Gabriel defended these realities. So Lucifer would say, hey, I don't think there's no universal father. Y'all ain't got no proof. We should do our own thing. And then Gabriel like, hey, y'all don't listen to Lucifer. Y'all should stay in this thought. And they were trying to sway all of these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other operating system entities. And Lucifer was very effective. And so he swung almost half of heaven. Half of these other operating systems said, you know what? He is right. And the moment that they said he is right, they automatically went into a system of resistance. And within a day, Jackie's neighborhood was converted into these evil Alexis running things. And so in that moment, what the universal system higher ups had to do was they had to put a quarantine, because free will is the highest law of the universe. They cannot stop Lucifer. They cannot stop other entities. They don't stop. Free will is the highest law of the universe, because in the ultimate scheme of things, the grand scheme of the grand being, this is just a little fly in his milk, right? All he got to do is just be like, take it and like whatever, or he may just drink the fly and be like, okay. So it doesn't need to get rid of, it doesn't need to stop evil, because nothing is going to happen, right? It's going to just work itself out. His system is so perfect, over time it'll just work itself out. It's like when you ate something bad as a child, your mom said, just wait till you poop it out. I don't know if anybody ever swallowed like a penny or swallow something or something like that. Just wait till it poops out. That's pretty much how the entire big system is like, oh, they down there create a rebellion? All right, well, we'll just wait till it works itself out. In the meantime, put Earth in quarantine. Don't let none of them other planets get a hold of it. So just like today, we isolate ourselves when someone gets sick. You get locked down in the house. You can't go out for 14 days. Earth and the systems that got part of this rebellion, we've been on quarantine. So this is why we don't know about other life on other planets. This is why we feel like we're this lonely planet in this grand universe, because we've been put on quarantine, because guess who, our planetary prince or our administrative system, he was one of the beings that said, I agree with Lucifer, sign me up. He thought it was a good idea. And Lucifer told him, you can run Earth however you want to run Earth. And he says, good, I got a better plan than the plan that I was supposed to follow for Earth. And as a result, we've been on a ghetto, crazy planet that is the most silliest of silliest things, that just, I think that's, like I said, it's one of the first things when you wake up that you realize, why the heck is this planet so backwards? Again, all of these entities had very good intentions. They didn't think, I'm going to fuck up Earth, excuse my language, I don't know what language say it. They really thought, I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to help speed up evolution. It's taking too long. Earth is already 300 billion years old. I'm going to make life faster. I'm going to make it go faster. I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to, my people on my planet, they're going to evolve faster than any other planet. Y'all already know that just in our human life. Anybody who already take that idea, most of us at this age already know when we hear those words from somebody say, I'm going to speed up and make it happen faster. We already know that just sounds like trouble, right? I'm going to make my crops grow faster. Here's some hormone fertilizer. We already know now, we already know that ain't a good idea. Well, at the time, they did not know that.
I thought you said my crotch grow bigger.
Oh, you thought I said what?
I thought you said my crotch grow bigger. You said my crotch.
Oh, no. my crops. So what they did was they tried to institute a new system on the planet Earth. Well, not Lucifer per se. Lucifer had really nothing to do with Earth, but his attendant presented the plan to our planetary governor, and that planetary governor said, sign me up. I'm all aboard for it. I want to make it happen. And when it did it, it just messed things up. So instead of letting Earth naturally progress, naturally evolve, however slow it's moving, it instituted this idea of knowledge of good and evil, right? So this is where the story of Satan in the Bible comes in. It's the analogy is this idea of, hey, I'm going to take y'all primitive beings, I'm going to speed up y'all evolution. Here, eat this fruit, eat this knowledge. Y'all are naked, running around here like naked animals, and y'all are actually gods. So instead of letting them evolve on their own to come to that conclusion, this entity says, okay, now that I got control of Earth, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna help speed up this evolution. But what happens, you all, to all of us, when we get some knowledge that other people don't have? It puffs us up, and now that knowledge creates a sense of resistance. Because what's the first thing that happened when Adam and Eve's eyes were open? They said, shit, we mad kids. We gotta put some clothes on. We gotta go kill an animal, right? Now they shame. So the first thing that happens with knowledge is it creates a sense of shame. Because now we can see, right, what happened to us when we got that, when we all watched that secret DVD and we found out we can create with our minds. Did it help any of us manifest immediately, or did it create frustration in us? How many did it create frustration in, right? Because you watch this information, you know it's true. You know what they're saying is true, that we can create, you can see it happening. But then you go and try to manifest it, and all you realize is, oh shoot, I'm thinking negative thought. I'm gonna keep manifesting negative thoughts. And now you start judging people, you start judging yourself, and just create shame. Knowledge always leads to destruction. It leads to resistance, right? The more you learn something, that is, no matter how it is, if you don't have the capacity to handle it, if you don't have grace on top of that knowledge, it's going to make you frustrated. I was frustrated. I can't speak for the rest of you all, but I was frustrated by the secret. For me, at first, it was great. Ooh, I learned how to manifest. I'm going to take this law of attraction, and I'm going to change my life. 6 years later, I was more miserable than I was before I watched the video. Right? I had moments of some manifestation, but for more than most part, all that did was just show me the hell I'm creating, how I'm creating it. But it didn't give me any solution to stop creating hell in myself. And so basically what happened on our earth was with our being, he tried to speed up our progress, introducing knowledge too fast. He welcomed these other beings a little higher than us from other planets. These are the fallen gods, or where the stories of the Zeus come in at, or these ancient civilizations like Atlantis. And they started coming to Earth, and they try to speed up our evolution. They try to speed it up and not let us go through our natural evolutionary progress. But in doing that, what they did not realize is there was a default destruction in this system. That the moment you went into this Lucifer declaration, any of these, it actually created more blindness, it created more discord, and it created more disruption. And this is why Jesus said, the Satan of kingdom, the kingdom is a liar, and a deceiver, and a destroyer. It's not intentional. It's just that when you get into a spirit of resistance, it automatically makes you start lying. And so it only took for about 100 years, maybe Earth time, for all of these beings to realize, oops, we have made a mess, right? It did not take long for them to realize they made a mess. But what they did was, they said, and we all can confess to this, let's keep trying anyway. We know we made a mess that first 100 years. Let's just keep doing it to see what happens if we can correct it. Well, now it's 500 years. It's more mess. And then they realize, okay, we really have made a mess in these planets, in these systems. Well, at this point, the universe system says, hey, we let y'all rebel, we let y'all run y'all course. Do y'all now want to say, fix us? They said, nope. We're going to carry this thing all the way out to the end. And it just got worse, and it got worse. And not only did it get worse, but they begin to lose their power, and they begin to fall. This is where they fall. Because that system of negativity and destruction, the universal superior being had a built-in default of almost like if you can imagine, we build a default in our operating systems, that if they ever become destructive, they would self-destruct. And so Lucifer right now is an entity that's going on self-destruction. Any negativity in your life that you keep going on, it is a built-in self-destructive system. How many of us can see this happening in our own friends and families' lives? When you just release them to their own negativity, what happens? They just naturally, they just self-destruct right in it. To the point where it gets so far, you just have to kind of like put your hands off, keep your distance from them, quarantine yourself from them, and just sadly and embarrassing and heartbreakingly, you watch them self-destruct. So even these entities had a built-in self-destruction. And the corruption started within 100 years. And they became more blind. They became more ignorant to the relations of things, to the point where they got to the sense of they couldn't even begin to see even the error anymore. They couldn't even get to see the destruction they were doing. You ever know some person that have failed so far, they don't even see the bad they're doing anymore? They're not even aware of like, do you realize you just stole from a child? And they're like, you just took candy from a child. And they're like, they can't even, and how they justify it, it'll make you almost crazy sometimes, right? If you listen to them. And so these entities, these intelligent systems just became more corrupt, more corrupt, more corrupt. And as the planets got more basically ghetto, they just kept justifying it, right? We've seen this happen in our friends' lives. We've seen it happen in our life. Someone call you out on something, you just keep justifying it. You keep justifying it. You keep justifying it. And you can see this in alcoholics or drug addicts. Are you justifying your behavior? Like you did what? There's no justification for it. And so that's what these entities basically did, to the point where they literally became blind to the negative force they were doing, the evil they were doing. And that's why evil really is live spelled backwards, because their whole energy became a backwardsness towards life. But because it is the energy or a spiritual energy, that energy became the dominant energy in the beings and system in the planet Earth. So this is why the Christian myth says we're born into sin. What it is we're in a frequency. Jesus said it like this, or Paul said it. He said, the ruler of the air. He said, he called this the spirit of disobedience that's at work in the planet. So there's this spirit of this declaration that's in the world, that's in our system, that's in our mental intelligence, until we get born again and wake up from it. So this is what the Matrix was speaking of, waking up out of the Matrix. This is what the spiritual Jesus was being born again. He says you must be born again, because you can't go into the kingdom. You can't evolve in this frequency that is permeating the planet.
Will you repeat that, please? Like, explain that again. Born again. Like, I mean, I know the term, and
so you're naturally born. Most of us are born naturally plugged into the collective frequency of the planet, which is the frequency of this rebellion. It's a natural frequency that just makes us resist and resist and resist. It's a spirit of resistance. It's a spirit of that is the fruit of these three C's. It's a natural sense of just hating the natural. Basically, we hate the natural evolutionary progress. And we hate truth. We hate truth on our planet. Let me break this story and tell y'all another order of what happens. So on part of the plan of the universe systems is one of these beings, one of these primary avatars, one of the things that they do, just part of the universal plan, is they actually will incarnate on various planets at various times. Okay? They will take on they will go into their own creation and take it on. Earth, you all, is the only planet that's ever killed one of them. Okay? When they show up on the planet and they bring forth a simple revelation of truth, of enlightenment, on the planets where there was not a rebellion or that spirit at, they say, oh, wow, this is so enlightening. Thank you for enlightening us. And they take their revelation, they take the gospel, they apply it to their lives, and they evolve in enormous steps. On our planet, when the truth was revealed to our people, they said, kill it. Yes, we know it's the truth.
You're talking about Jesus.
I'm talking about Jesus. The being that incarnated in Jesus. Jesus was the incarnation of one of these primary avatars of the creator being. And we are the only planet in our system that's ever killed and murdered one. Usually when they show up, and there's different versions of them that show up in different places and different planets, but they show up with a very mission to enlighten the planet, to put a different frequency into the planet. Normally, on normal planets where there haven't been any rebellion or any spirit of resistance, they just take it. Like you run into somebody and they say, hey, Jackie, I got some information for you. And because you know it's true, you say, my God, I know this is true because I see this. Most people would just say, okay, I received that truth, and they change their life. On our planet, when people hear truth, they will punch you in your face, right? The more obvious the truth is, the more likely you'll be shot dead, right? We will literally look the truth right in his face and kill it. And we've all gone through those episodes in our life where somebody brought us some real truth. We knew it was truth, and we looked right at it and denied it. Okay, that's how that manifests. That spirit of resistance manifests, and that spirit of the lie. It creates a system of lying. So when Jesus came here, he embodied a 12th dimensional being that created a different frequency, and he brought what he called the spirit of truth, or the frequency of truth. And that frequency is the opposite of the frequency of resistance. But you have to tune into it. But right now, they equally are on the planet. You got the spirit of resistance, and you got the spirit of truth. And every day you're forced to choose. The more you choose the spirit of truth, the more you're going to naturally evolve. It's going to release resistance. You're going to start loving other people. You're going to start naturally growing and evolving. The more you keep choosing the spirit of frequency that permeated the planet, it creates resistance. It is a spirit of resistance. It is literally the most dangerous element to evolution and progress on the planet. It hijacks the natural urge of self-assertion. It turns personal liberty into a weapon of mass destruction. It sounds like this: because I can do it, I can do it. Have you ever seen somebody do something evil, litter, just something like litter, or do something, say, why did you do this? Because I can. You know, you heard people say this, because I can, because I can. That's what this spirit of resistance does to personal liberty, because we all have free will, and it just naturally makes this thing. And guess what the book of Urantia said? The book of Urantia said it's not natural in children. It is actually taught and impressed upon them. As children, we have a natural tendency to be altruistic and to be sharing. Children naturally want to share and give, right? But this frequency, if it's in their household, if it's permanent household, they'll take it on, right? And you'll hear, you can hear the stories, and maybe we grew up in a house where the parents say, why are you sharing all your stuff with all those kids? They got their own parents. Don't be giving away my hard-earned money to blah, 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 whatever. But kids are naturally, in a natural planet, most children have to be learned and be permeated with this spirit of frequency and doing this, whatever I want to do. Most children want to please their parents, naturally want to please their parents. It also causes severe blindness to cosmic realities and values and truths. I got this image here because there's fields and force fields and patterns, right? How many of us can see patterns in other people's lives, clearly see patterns happening in other people's lives, and they are so blind to it? And you be like, weren't you in that relationship just like that 3 years ago? No, it was different. That person was different. No, it's not. It's not. And you're like, it's not different. There's nothing different about it. And they just get blind to it. They literally become blind to it. And then when you realize you're talking to them, you realize, okay, you know what? Or they tell you something that somebody did to them, you be like, but you do the same thing. They're like, no, I don't. You're like, no, you do. You're like, you really do that. And they can't see it. Here's a good one that I put down here. I put, most humans cannot imagine or fathom or accept that humans on Earth are not. I put, supposed to say they're not the only life on the universe, right? We know how we all know how vast the universe is. There are literally humans who really cannot fathom, can't entertain it. Like, it makes them irritated and frustrated, the idea we're not the only planet in this great big universe with life on it. For most of us, that's like, well, duh, I don't need to see proof of aliens. It's so duh. It's like how could there not be? But for other people, they're like, no, it's just not possible. This whole great vast space, it's just us. God just made us, right? I don't even know why, even for me, I'm not even interested in reading about the existence of extraterrestrials. It's such an obvious, like, how can there not be? Like, it just don't even make sense to even, whatever. But you got beings that's so grounded in the spirit of resistance, of lying and blindness to cosmic truths, you can't even talk to them about angels. They make you feel like you're crazy. Like, there's something that's just like, huh? Anything spiritual, they're just like, if they can't see it, it don't exist. Just don't, if they can't see it, it's not there. But that is the result of that. Because guess what? Like I said, it's not in children. You notice it's not in children, right? Children very much are easily be able to have faith in stuff they can't see. But until that spirit of resistance, that spirit of that frequency of rebellion takes over them. Resistance is experienced as fear. So the reason why fear dominates our planet is because it is resistance. We experience resistance as fear. It limits increased advancements, it leads to inhibition. The degree of fear equates to the strength of resistance. Therefore, the more fear that is felt, the more certain resistance. And we are afraid of humans. We're afraid of existence. We're afraid of extinction. We're afraid of our culture being extinct. We're afraid of losing this. We're afraid of this. We're so afraid of so many things. And we justify it in our blindness, right? When I was in South Africa in 2003, the Afrikaans, who were the Europeans that colonized South Africa, they were having a major protest because they said their language is going extinct. Because the blacks were saying we don't want to speak the oppressor's language anymore. And they were trying to preserve the extinction of their language. All right, and there are some psychologists who actually diagnose races and cultures that this inbuilt fear, it's called the fear, chronic fear of extinction, where you feel like you're gonna lose your fear, you lose your culture, okay? And this is how it impacts us negatively. It impacts us negatively because when we're trying to evolve, shame, guilt, apathy, these are natural giving gifts that help us on the planet. Shame helps us survive. I talked about this other week. Shame helps us survive by becoming invincible. These are negative emotions, but these negative emotions gives us an ability. What happens through resistance, it locks you into shame because you're not able to move forward to the next level. So what happens is when you resist your own existence, it locks you into shame. You resist your own nature, just who you are, your race, your color, your sexuality, your sexual identity. You resist the acts that you did, when you resist the past acts of yourself, it locks you into guilt. That's why you gotta forgive, make space for it. When you resist your own free will and don't take responsibility for your actions, it locks you into apathy. When you're resisting the fact that no, you make choices on this planet, you can make a choice to free yourself. When you resist, no, it's everybody's fault. I can't do it because of the Lucifer Rebellion. I can't be happy because of what happened with Lucifer. I can't be happy because of white people, black people. I can't be happy because of the way my mama raised me. I can't be happy because of this. And you resist your own free will, it locks you in apathy. When you release the loss of possession, something. Oh, this is very special to me. I can't believe I lost it. I can't believe we lost the golden age. I can't believe we lost our ability to evolve. I can't believe we lost our language. We lost our culture. We lost this. It locks you into grief and you can't get out of that bubble. And each of these bubbles are magnetic fields. And in these magnetic fields, they bring to you, they attract to you more shameful situations, more guilty situations. These energy fields, when you get locked into them, they literally bring to you situations that keep causing you grief. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how we create hell on earth. Resistance manifests, locks us into these unpleasant emotions, and it just creates hell for us. When you resist uncertainty, I don't know tomorrow. Okay, don't fight it. It locks you into fear. When you resist having lack or being in need of something, it locks you into desire. When you resist other people's free will and their choosing, it locks you into anger. And now you like, I don't like the choice they made. They ignored me. They denied me. They didn't help me get what I wanted. I resist nature. I hate the rain, right? I was joking with Dr. Misha today because I was just like, I looked at the weather forecast and I was like, oh, it's only going to rain between this hour. And I said, Mother Nature said, okay, you think you can predict me? I got something for you. You're gonna learn today. You do not know me. You can't control me. And I can't get angry at her, right? But people do it. We curse the sun. People curse the sun, right? We curse everything. In our anger, we're locking the free will of other people. Anger is usually something where you're angry at somebody's free will choice. And then when you resist your own limitation, your own natural inadequacies, that locks you into pride. You cannot accept your inadequacies. You can't accept just the natural, and everybody's been gifted with inadequacies on the planet. You can't be human without limitations and inadequacies. And when you accept them, it keeps you humble and it keeps you going higher and higher. What locks you into pride is when you resist your inadequacies. And so this is how this good intention to resist and to allow the knowledge. So how does this look in us today? Well, I have a talk with Dr. Misha, and I say, Dr. Misha, let me tell you how dysfunctional your relationship is. I'm a psychologist, and I break down to her all her inadequacies and how this is how a real healthy relationship looks. And I'm like, healthy people, healthy couples do this, and a healthy partner do this. And all of a sudden, she's now looking at her mate like, oh my God, we're in an unhealthy, dysfunctional relationship. I got to do something about it, right? So knowledge says, I'm going to resist the relationship I got. I'm going to resist my place in life. I'm going to resist all of this stuff. And then what it does is it actually it's going to lock her into it. She's going to call me 10 years later and still be in a dysfunctional relationship. She's going to get locked into it. The true word of the gospel, the message of the gospel, what Jesus presented, where Jesus says, hey, y'all okay as y'all are. Have faith that you are enough. And in being enough, you quench resistance. That's why it says we come as we are. That's why in the first gospel of John, it said Moses brought the law and Jesus Christ brought grace and truth. With this idea of saying, hey, everybody, y'all all okay. Grace says, yeah, Dr. Misha, your relationship is pretty dysfunctional, but it's okay. Y'all will be okay. Just love each other, love it as it is, and let love change it. And that love will naturally transform it. That's why in the Gospel of Peter, it says love covers all sin. But we're addicted to saying, show me my sin so I can fix it. I want to fix. I want to fix. We want to quickly tell people, oh, you wrong. We want to say, give us the 10 commandments. Give us an order. Reveal to us what's wrong with us. And it's still in that same spirit. What we're doing is we're resisting being human. We're resisting the fact that all of us are going to live dysfunctional, right? I know people who realize, oh my God, I might be a sociopath. I might be too needy. Oh my God, here I am thinking about my partner and wanting their affection. I'm being too needy. I want to change it about myself. Just accept that you're too needy, right? Just embrace it. This is what makes us not give thanks. The reason why we can't give thanks to the Creator is because we're too busy trying to resist what is and trying to live to that higher knowledge, that higher imprint. Because that spirit of that intelligence of Lucifer is still saying it's too slow. Don't worry about anybody else. Do what you need to do. Cut them off. Let it go. You are a God. So act like it. Yeah, we are gods, but we're the lowest order of gods with a lot of falls. Okay? All right? And so instead of trying to find our power and do all this stuff, think about it. Some of the most arrogant people are religious people. And I don't mean just the Christians. I'm talking the New Agers. Oh, you still eat meat? Oh, you ain't do this? Oh, you ain't saved your house? Oh, you got some evil spirits around you? I don't do that. Y'all ain't too clean. And you can't even feel free around these beings. It's the same energy, whether it manifests itself in Christian or New Age or African traditional religion, right? Even when the going back to African religion, wait, you ain't do the ritual right. Your ancestors aren't happy with you. All of this fixing, and keeping us stuck in fear and resistance. Not that the knowledge about the ancestors, not that the knowledge about the law of attraction, not about the knowledge of all this evil energy and negative energy. It's not that it's not right. It's not just not true. When we try to fix it and not surrender, it's best illustrated in the Apostle Paul's story when he prayed. He said, man, God, take away these thorns out my flesh. Right? He says, basically he was saying, I don't like my human weakness. And he prayed and he said, hey, you told me I can pray, and whatever I pray for, you'll hear me and take care of it. Well, I'm praying to you, take out this thorn from my flesh, take out my human weakness so I can be better servant for you. I can see the best version of myself and I want to be it. Fix me, God. And he said, I prayed 3 times. He said, the Spirit of the Lord told him, my grace is sufficient for you. Your power, my power is made perfect in your weakness. So this idea is, and then Paul says, oh, then from that point on, he says, I learned that when I am weak, I am strong. So therefore, he says, I will embrace my weaknesses. I will embrace my infirmities. I will embrace all of these hardships. But when I am weak, I am made strong. And so in this new spirit that Christ instituted on the planet, in the spirit where you can just say, I'm enough. I'm enough in my handicaps. I'm enough in my inadequacies. And that being enough, I'm enough in this feeling of shame. I'm enough in this guilt. I can be okay being in apathy. I'm okay being depressed. You now don't have to be depressed over being depressed. You can just lay in the bed and be like, I'm depressed today, and just let it pass through you. But in that spirit of resistance, you say, oh my gosh, I can't be sad. I can't be grief. I must not be spiritual enough. I must not know enough. I can't believe I'm crying with my mom. I know she's in heaven, but why am I crying for? And then you resist it, it locks you into it. But the spirit of truth says, you're okay, cry, it's okay. And then it passes through you. And that's how we evolve into these higher levels. The more we allow the truth of that grace to say, I'm enough. I don't have to try to fix myself. Yeah, I can read this beautiful story of who Addam could be, but I know that I'm okay with him not being there yet. And in his own time, I would naturally evolve into that. That's my story on how the Lucifer frequency impacted the planet harshly and how it impacts us negatively today. I hope y'all all enjoyed that talk. Any questions, comments, or feedback?
I have a question.
Yes.